Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. Thank you everyone that submitted questions for this week's Flash Arrow Q&A. There was also a ton of TV shows that got picked up, both DC and Marvel. So I'll try to address a little bit of that during this Q&A, but this is mostly going to be Flash Arrow stuff because of the finales. There's been a lot of questions about what the timeline is because the episodes are out of sync. What I think the intention is that episode 22 of The Flash is supposed to take place in the timeline after episode 23, the finale of Arrow. But because The Flash airs first during the week, it's just a little wonky. Episode 23 is the Flash finale. That will happen in 2 weeks. So there are 2 more episodes of The Flash, 1 more episode of Arrow, and then we'll get the spin-off trailer after the last episode of The Flash. Just careful for spoilers if you haven't seen this week's episodes yet. So here we go. Questions. Tristan asks, if Eddie never married Iris, then how did he marry because he had to have a kid with someone? If he didn't, Harrison Wells wouldn't be born. Well, presumably he just married someone else, just some other random girl. The show has changed the comic book characters just a little bit. In the comics, when we meet Eobard Thawne, most of what we know about his family is his nuclear family, like the family from the 25th century. There's other Thawne family members that we do meet, but not in a way that would explain what the TV show is doing. Like you have Cobalt Blue, and then you have Bart Allen, who's also from the future, but those are really some of the only other big Thawnes that we run into. Of all the people coming back in season 2, I definitely think Rick Kuznets, the actor, is coming back. So I think we'll continue to explore his family's lineage through his character. But we will see like the future Eobard Thawne. You remember the guy from episode 17, the true Eobard Thawne? We'll see him again, probably in a flashback. Question number 2, Mr. asks, what if Eiling becomes the team leader of Flash in season 2? Sarcastic. Yeah, that would be like Darkest Timeline Flash. Like if they change history and suddenly it becomes really depressing and dark. Everybody comes back with like alternate universe Star Trek goatees. It'd be like Team Flash going Crime Syndicate. Eiling seems like one of those antagonistic characters that's technically not a villain that they'll probably keep bringing back in Grodd episodes. So I think he'll still be a big part of season 2, but I don't think he's ever going to rise above the level of guest actor. Next question, Tiki Toddy asks, I think Eobard was lying to Eddie about him not being important in the lineage of the Thawnes. So you think he's like trying to bait him into doing something, trying to seed a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's totally possible. We don't really know enough about the original timeline before the Reverse Flash started changing things to say. The show does a pretty good job of explaining its internal logic, so, whatever they want us to think, they'll show it on screen. There is subtext in the show, and there are a few mysteries, but big things like that, they do explain pretty well. Cue evil villain monologuing. If you think about it, if Eobard Thawne were really smart, he wouldn't tell anybody what his plan is, but he seems like he really enjoys talking about himself. The character in the comics is really full of himself, so you can see why the show is having fun with that. I'm a genius where I come from. Imagine how smart that makes me here. Next question, Ramina asks, how come Star Labs has no security and Iris can just walk in anytime she wants? So yeah, that's a good question. And a lot of people are asking how she could just walk in and surprise them like that. I think the easiest answer is that Team Flash minus Harrison Wells just isn't that great yet. As if there's a lot of simple mistakes that they make just because they don't have experience in running a superhero team. This first season is about them learning to take things more seriously. Remember the Arrow crossover whenever they were in the Foundry in the bar over drinks? The writers did this good job of juxtaposing what was going on Arrow versus what was going on Flash. Caitlin Snow had this comment where she was like, we've all been treating this like a game so far. We give our villains funny comic book names. And Roy is just like sitting there sulking in his drink about how terrible everything is in Starling. That's just a reflection of the tone of both shows. I mean, The Flash is made to be lighter, a little bit more comedic. But it's very true. Caitlin, Barry, Cisco just don't take things quite as seriously as you would see in, say, like a future Justice League movie. Next question, QEW asks, Ray Palmer could buy Star Labs. Wells has known for years that one way or the other he'll eventually leave. He might have left a will. So you're talking about like who is going to take over ownership of Star Labs when season 2 starts. Star Labs has been around for at least the last 12 to 13, 14 years. Barry's mom was murdered about 15 years ago, and within about a year of that, Eobard Thawne became Harrison Wells and started building the particle accelerator. He would have needed to amass a ton of funding for that, so he probably got a ton of funding from outside sources, and then he probably found a way to profit from all the technology that they were building. So there probably is some sort of like succession plan built in because he would have had to do that because of all the funding he had to secure. It's really one of those questions that we have to ask the writers because this sounds like one of those things that they haven't quite figured out yet. There's also the question as to whether or not they're going to fill the hole that Tom Cavanaugh is going to leave in the cast, if he leaves at all. When they were sitting on the treadmill, Barry was like, hey, we don't need Wells. We can do this, just the three of us. And Caitlin was like, well, it was actually the four of us that did it, talking about Iris. So barring any additional cast members that they bring into Star Labs, I think it's just going to be those characters next season, running things on their own. Next question, the Batman asks, will Grodd be the season 2 main villain? The only reason I don't think he's going to be the ultimate big bad is just because those characters have to be on screen a lot, and I think it'd be really expensive for them to try to do that. He'll probably have a really big role, he'll still be a really big character in season 2, but until the cost of technology comes down to a certain point, I think it's really hard to have a character as big as they need to be the big bad, to be on screen for many, many episodes without it being super cheap. So it'll still probably be a human actor. What I'm really hoping is that Eddie turns into the season 2 villain, but it might be too premature for that. That might be like a season 3 thing. Next question, Ken Dog says, Roy's identity in the motor pool was changed to Jason, and I just immediately thought of Jason Todd. Yeah, I think you could consider that a brief Easter egg for Jason Todd. I think Roy's relationship with Team Arrow is going to be a lot like the Red Hood's relationship with Batman. Like in the context of the Arrow universe, Roy's going to go off on his own on like a sojourn, still being a superhero and occasionally crossing paths with Team Arrow in the future. Colton Haynes is pursuing his film career right now, so what's probably going to happen is you'll see him pop up in a couple episodes next season, maybe 1, maybe 2, or at least by season 5. When he left, he said he was totally happy to come back, but a lot of that just depends on what his schedule is. But the Jason Todd Easter egg isn't an indication that he is going to become the Red Hood or anything like that. It's just like a fun wink at the audience. Next question, Parker asks, they better develop Felicity. She's so annoying and her character has regressed a lot this season. Yeah, one of the problems with shows is when you have a cast this big, you can only spend so much time developing a certain number of characters. There's always going to be somebody that gets left in the lurch. That's what I think this scene with Ray Palmer is all about, making Felicity the new owner and CEO of Palmer Tech. There's also a lot of theories that the main villain, Damien Dark of season 4, is going to be Felicity's father. That'd be a really easy way for the Arrow writers to leave themselves a strong Felicity foundation to build a really good story on. What I'd really like to see is Felicity build herself some tech, but I don't know that that's part of the character. So most of the time the solutions that she comes up with on her own are peaceful solutions. Like she still takes villains down, but in a very non-violent way. The best example of that is Bitch with Wi-Fi from last season. Next question, Ahmed asks, when will Arrow season 4 and The Flash season 2 air? They haven't confirmed anything yet, but by all accounts, it'll be about the exact same time as season 3 and season 1 of The Flash aired. Just in general, the schedule's going to be the same. They were both October premieres. What might happen is they might get bumped forward by a week or bumped back by a week, but it'll still be in October. It'll air till December, then it'll go on break, come back in January. The spin-off is supposed to premiere sometime in January. That's also unconfirmed. If they do have 3 shows on at the same time, what I'm expecting is that they'll all air on different nights, like Flash on Tuesday, Arrow on Wednesday, and Legends of Tomorrow on another day. Right now, I feel like the CW's Thursday night programming just isn't quite as strong as its Tuesday, Wednesday programming. So Thursday right now is my top choice. That way it wouldn't be competing with Gotham because it's also probably going to be like a 8 p.m. show. Thank you so much everyone for asking questions. These are always a ton of fun to do. Next week is actually going to be like the CW upfront, so we'll probably get a lot more information about the spin-off series, what the cast is going to be doing, when they're going to air it. That's really the biggest question is like, what day is it going to start on? Just going down the list, here are the shows that got renewed. I'll include the Marvel ones in here too. We got Supergirl, that was picked up for series. They didn't announce a premiere date yet, it'll be on CBS. They picked up Legends of Tomorrow, of course, that's going straight to series on CW. Then in the Marvel Universe, Agent Carter and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. were both picked up for another season. The only superhero shows that have been canceled so far are Constantine. They just confirmed Constantine's canceled on NBC. It could go to another network. And ABC did not pick up the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. spin-off series, the one that was supposed to be about Mockingbird. So next week, Arrow finale and Rogue Prison Break. Be sure to subscribe to get those videos. Don't worry, there's a lot of fun Flash Ring stuff that we have to talk about next week, but I want to wait till after the episode airs. Just to give you guys a little tease, something to get excited about, there are at least 3 rings on The Flash that are going to be in the next 2 episodes. See if you can guess what all the 3 rings are. Please be sure to use spoiler tags. So while you guys wait for all that stuff to post, you can click here for this week's Flash trailer, and you can click here to learn all about the cast of Captain America Civil War. Some, minor Age of Ultron spoilers if you guys haven't seen Age of Ultron yet. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tomorrow.